So I think it's about time we get started. So first of all, thank you very much for joining the webinar. Really excited to sort of show you what we have new on Seneca for September, so you can get ready and going as soon as possible. But also we're going to have a real focus on what you will do for how the integration with Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams works. So it will hopefully give you a really good insight into how to get going, and also if you're brand new to Seneca, give you some ideas of how you can get started with it. But also if you're a more familiar user of Seneca, then you will hopefully get some new ideas and some thoughts on how to use it this year. Just give a bit of background on me. I used to be a teacher, a maths teacher, and I now have worked for Seneca for just under 2 years now. And I work with schools across the country, making sure that they get the most out of what we offer, basically. So this is just one of the things I do to do that. But if you've got any questions throughout this webinar, I should be able to answer everything that you guys have questions on. So what I'd suggest is as those questions come up into your mind, you'll notice on Zoom that there is a chat feature. It'll be at the bottom of your screen if you just hover your mouse over my picture. And you'll be able to ask questions. And what I'll do is towards the end of the session, I will come back and review those questions and I'll go through them so that you can then have those questions answered. There's a bit of interaction back and forth, as well as what I'm going to show you with how Seneca works. So yeah, keep those coming in. Don't feel like you have to wait for a certain period to put them down. Just ask them as and when you have them. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see it, and then we can get going. So let me just do that. Sorry, hang on one second. Technology is letting me down. Okay, hopefully you can all see that screen. If you can't, then just someone could let me know that would be great in the chat. So to start off with what Seneca actually is, and what we sort of see schools up and down the country using us for, the main sort of use we see things going on is with homework and distance learning. So distance learning has become much more a thing, obviously, in the last few months with the pandemic and everything that's been going on around that. But primarily before that, and still now, we are also a homework platform as well. And some of the best things that I think are really important to mention about what Seneca is, in case you're not familiar with it, is first of all, it's based on cognitive science. So the actual learning of what is most effective in learning is sort of baked into the system automatically. So your students don't have to worry, or you and your students don't have to worry about whether they're using effective learning techniques. These things happen automatically just by using Seneca. Secondly, everything on there is automated. So you as a teacher will be able to have everything marked automatically. And the third point there as well, you'll be able to track progress automatically. So all the data presented to you, I'll show you how that works and how that looks in a second. So then you can use that to identify what support you need to put in place, how you can support your students most effectively. The fourth point is that it's adaptive. And by that, what I mean is that all students who complete a Seneca learning session, the differentiation happens automatically. So you won't just have all students going through the same linear learning path on the platform. The students will actually have completely differentiated work. So if you stood behind two students going on the same session, depending on how they answered those questions in the session, you would see different content, be that supporting some of the students who are struggling, or pushing them on if they need some extra stretch. And lastly, obviously everything I'm going to show you today is free to use for you guys as teachers, for your school, for your students, and also their parents and guardians as well. So there is a premium version as well, which I can talk you through if there are questions around that. But everything I'm going to show you today is going to be available and for you for free. Okay. So we've done a lot of work on working out and working with industry experts or and specialists within cognitive science to basically learn what the best application of the theory is to make sure that whatever we decide to do as an organization is supporting students as well as possible. Now, we obviously have this theory that's pretty well established now, but there's obviously lots of different ways you can implement that theory. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we did, that it was first of all effective for students, as the most important thing in terms of improving their learning outcomes. So we completed a randomized controlled trial that looked over just over 1,100 pupils, and compared it to other sort of independent learning strategies. So as an example would be revision guides that students use a lot for independent learning. And what we found was that actually comparing something like revision guides to Seneca, that very similar pre-test scores, you'll see the post-test scores on Seneca were significantly higher. It's over 2 times better, the students who use Seneca. So we see that as an effective sort of validation that our use of Seneca, our use of these strategies and these theories is effective. And if you want to read more about that, it was peer reviewed and published, so you can read about it in these journals. So I recommend to go and do that. And obviously, if you have any questions about it, do feel free to ask. In terms of what we have now, the content we have covers Key Stage 2, so from year 3 right up to the end of year 13. And everything on there is either linked to the specific exam board or to the national curriculum at Key Stage 2 and 3. So everything on there is exactly what your students need to know. You don't need to worry about whether they're going to learn the higher stuff in the foundation tier or the AQA stuff in the edXL courses, whatever. It's all specifically tailored, working from the courses as first principle. So you don't need to worry about whether, about that happening, basically. And currently we have just over, it's probably about 3.5 million pupils now. These figures are a little bit out of date. And over 140,000 teachers. So there's lots of people using it, which is really great. We're really pleased that we're able to support students and teachers, especially over the last few months. It's been really great. So what I'm going to do now is I will show you the platform. And again, as I've mentioned, this session is all framed around using it with Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams. So I will show you how those interactions work and how you can get the most out of Seneca to enable you to support both those platforms alongside each other. So if you're familiar with Seneca, you will recognize this from, these are your classes at the top here. And the best thing to do, probably to show you these integrations, is to take this, is to basically talk you through this process. So of creating a class. So if I start by creating a class, you literally just click this big button here. You give it a name, whatever you want to call it, and then you create a class right there. Give it a second. And then there are a few different options, well, basically talks you through setting it up. So first of all, you've got a sort of 4-step process. You've got this get help button here, which will give you support with whatever stage you're at that time. So if you're not sure, you just click that button and it will give you some help. But we have this add courses thing. So the first stage to do once you've created a class is add some courses to that class. And if you give it a moment, you'll see we've got filters down the side here, and we've also got a search bar up here. So you can go in and filter by whatever you want or search for whatever you want, and then you just click on the courses you want to add, whatever that may be. So it's these 5 courses for me. And that's what those are the courses that class will be accessing. So I then click add courses at the top. And the next stage is to create an assignment to mark work automatically. So again, I can get help if I need it, but if I just click create assignment, I can then choose from one of those 5 courses I just added. And I can say, okay, students, I want you to basically do session X, Y, Z. You can select whichever ones you want. I'm just clicking on these boxes down the side here to select the assignments I want. And then it can give you a timer as well up here. So you can see that's expected to take 24 to 40 minutes. I mean, as I add more, it will change accordingly. So then when I'm ready, I click assign and I give that to my students. And again, I give it a name. And I can get set a start and an end date as well. So as a teacher, I can then use that to sort of plan forward into the future, which is again really useful potentially for batching all your work in one go, helping your workload. You can sort of plan ahead for the weeks ahead for the assignments you want to set. So then click create, and that then creates a assignment for that class. So the next stage is to invite your students, and this is the first sort of stage where you start to see the integrations with Classroom and Teams come in. So if I invite my students, you'll see big buttons here, one for Google Classroom, one for Microsoft Teams. I'll show you the suggested way of doing this for both of these. It's a fairly simple process, but if I just click on, say for example, I want to invite my students through Classroom, I click on the Google Classroom link. It then loads up with into your Google Classroom, and you then choose the class you want to send it to. For example, this Year 10 group, and you then choose an action. So this is just some functionality you have with Google Classroom, so you can choose between these 4 different options. In this case, I tend to think the best way to do it is to make an announcement for this, so that it's always available for students to see. And then when you click go, you'll see this link. This is the link that students will need to click on to join your class, but you just need to write a message, whatever you want. And you can choose some other quite nice functionalities. If you want to just send it to some students for some reason rather than all students, you can deselect certain students or select all, but I'll send it for all for the moment. And you can also have the options of saving your draft announcement or scheduling it for another time or posting it straight away. So we'll just post it for now, so you can see how it looks for your students. So it says here, you have posted to your class, click view. And one of the really nice things about Google Classroom is what you see is almost exactly what the students see. So if you are wondering what your students are going to see when this happens, it basically looks exactly the same as this. So you'll see that this message has gone into the stream, which is sort of like your message board for the classroom. So it's where always your sort of whole class communication can go through. Students or you can add comments below. You can edit these posts and things like that. And when a student clicks on this link, that basically then opens up. Give it a second, my computer's being a bit slow. There you go. And then you'll see that when it loads. So there you go, you've just joined name, which if you remember, that's the name I gave the class to earlier. And it just tells the students some information about what joining the class means. And when you click continue, that student will be taken straight into that class, and you'll see this assignment that I have just created a minute ago. Remember I called it test name, and the student can just start learning there and then. So now I've got a class, I've added some courses, I've created an assignment for those courses, and I've learned how to use Classroom to invite the students. Now, if I want to use Teams to invite the students, it's quite a similar process, but I'll just talk you through it again quickly. You just click this link for Teams. This is again to invite the students. Give it a moment to whir. So the difference is now, or I suppose it is similar in some ways, you select your group that you want to share it to, and you give a similar message as before. I can type, and then you share that with that group. So then it tells you your link has been shared. So if I just go into that class on Microsoft Teams, you'll be able to see, so it's this Year 10 maths group that I put in. You'll see this is here at 1616. I've just created that class. That post there. And again, this is like the equivalent of the stream in Google Classroom. It's almost like the message board for your students. The only difference is that it's separated into different channels. So at the moment, I've got a Year 10 maths channel, for example, here. So your students will be able to separate that out. But yeah, so again, if they click on that link, it'll be the same process as it was with Microsoft Teams. Sorry, with Google Classroom. So to go back, we've now invited our students, as I say. Some other functionality to mention while I'm here is that if you want to share classes with a teacher, you can add a teacher by clicking this button here. And then you can also share assignments onto Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams as well. So if I click this assignment here, what I can do, or actually what I'll do it from here. So the very first assignment you don't have an option to share it to Teams immediately. You can go back into that assignment and do it manually if you want. But every other assignment, it will always give you a pop-up to remind you or to check if you want to share that assignment in Teams and Classroom. So again, if I click here, I just clicked on the assignments thing here. If I click add assignment, I can then again choose one of the courses to set an assignment for. Just like I did a minute ago, I can select the sections that I want my students to complete, whatever it is, and then I can click assign. At the moment, there's only one student in this class because that's the one I just joined, but your whole list of students would appear there. And again, you can give it a name again, and a start and an end date. So then I click create again. And what you'll see this time is you'll get an option to help your students find the direct link. So again, you've got a few options, but because we're thinking about Google Classroom and Teams, I'll just show you what they look like in these two middle options here. So to start off with Classroom, if you click on that link, it will take you through to Google Classroom, and it will take you through to that same page that we were on before, where you select the type of, so first of all, the class, and then the action you want to take. So for this example, I think probably want to create an assignment. As it is an assignment, that makes sense. And I can click go, and again, give it a title, whatever it is I want to do, and some instructions. Again, typing is not my friend today. And there's a few more options down the side here that you'll see now, different from the announcement. So again, we can give it just to some students if we want. We can set a number of points if you're using the markbook feature in Google Classroom, or you can just leave it unmarked. That doesn't mean it won't get marked or anything like that. It just means it won't go into your Google Classroom markbook. And then again, you can set a due date, whatever you want to set. And our topic, which I'll leave blank for the moment. I'll explain what the topic does in a second when I show you that. So again, you can assign straight away, or you can schedule it or save it for later, depending on what you want to do. So if I click assign, I then again get the option to view the post. And it takes me through, this time not to the stream, but it takes me through to, oh, sorry, it does take me through the stream. You'll see that I've just posted a new assignment. That's the assignment I've just posted just now, but it'll also be visible in the classwork tab at the top here. So you'll see here this assignment I've just created. At the moment, it's just at the top here, and that is because remember I didn't select a topic for it to go under. Now you'll see different topics I've got down the front, below here. What you can actually do is help to organize your work stream, and also for your students as well, remembering whatever you see, your students will also see. So yeah, if you want to help them organize it, you can arrange things into different topics. So I can just drag and drop this assignment into a different topic. And you can do that with any piece of content you put up, be it an assignment, a link to an article, or whatever it is. You can drag and drop it under different areas of the different topic areas. So that is that in Google Classroom. Again, show you the same process in Teams. So just to show you, you click on Teams this time, and again, it will load up a similar page to what we had before when we were sharing in Teams. Again, you select your channel that you want to put it in. So my Year 10 Maths group. Again, give some instructions if you want to. and I click share. It tells me my link has been shared. And if again I go into this group, you'll see that that link I've just shared, click to access the assignment, has just appeared. And if students click on this link, it will just take them through to the assignments, and they can start and complete that assignment for you. So that is sharing assignments and that side of things. The last thing within, actually, so before I go on to that, what I'm going to do is, so that's obviously when you share this with students and they start completing that work, you're going to then see, well, be able to see a lot of good data based on what your students have been up to. So if I just switch over to a class that actually has some students in it. So this, let's have a look. Okay, so these are some assignments that I've set previously and my students have done. These are all fictitious students, but you'll get the idea. So if I click on this, you'll be able to see some really nice data on what the students have or haven't been up to. Nicely red, amber, green, so you can see exactly what your students are struggling with. And you can, the first thing you'll notice is this status. So cross meaning it wasn't completed. So you'll see there's gaps here. And then a timer means it was completed and it was completed late. But the tick, if there's no ticks on this example, but the tick would mean basically it was completed and it was on time. So you can see all this nice data based on the assignment you set. And what you can do actually is sort by any of these columns. So say you wanted to see for exception words in this example, you want to see who did particularly badly. You could do that. And you can see Blaze didn't do particularly well. And you could also do, click it again and it would go from highest to lowest. So again, Ashton did really well in this example. And what you can actually do is you can change the metrics. So at the moment, best score is selected, but you can choose other options depending on what suits you. So most recent attempt or worst score, average score, etc. And if you just click those, you'll see the data changes based on whatever it is that you've selected. So that is one way you see data. Now, a really nice function that we have at the moment, or that we have released recently, is our smart reassign function. So what this will do is, obviously this is lots and lots of data on your students. When you're thinking about your intervention and what to put in place to help, say, Mayra with this section about anti and auto and the spelling of that, you might want to set something else, but you might also want her to revisit this section. So what you can do is you can do that for all students at the click of a button. If you just click this smart reassign button at the top, what you're able to do is select how you would like to smartly reassign. So you can say, okay, I want all students who, for this assignment, sessions were incomplete and they got below 50% score. You can select as many or a few of these as you want, but let's just say these for the moment. And what you can do is reassign that to your students automatically, so they'll get the assignments that's most appropriate for them. Again, you set a name, a start and an end date, and then you can reassign it, and that will take you through. And again, you can share to Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams if you want, in exactly the same way as you did before. Oh. Not sure why that's happened. Okay, there you go. So yeah, not sure why that happened. Sorry about that. But you'll see, so this is automatically reassigned. So we'll see it's either NS for not set, if that student got above 50% in this example. And then you've got gaps. So your students will automatically be able to just complete the ones that are most appropriate for them to support their learning. So that's quite a nice way to support your students. And it might be quite a nice way, especially now, thinking lots of potential gaps in students' knowledge, setting some nice big assignments for your students to work through, and then automatically reassigning them for your students based on how well they do. So that's just one area you see data on Seneca. The other area is in insights. And again, this shows you similar data in a similar way, but it will show you over not just an assignment period, it will show you over a period that you can define yourself. So say, for example, you pick your course, whatever it is for your class, you pick the metric you want to see, and you pick the date range. So let's say I want to see for the last year what's been going on. I can then select the sessions, just like I did before, but this time I'm choosing what I want to see data for, to see how my students have done. Okay, so let's say I want to see data for those ones. I select those sections, give it a second just to get that data together, and then you can see for this over the last year, I can see exactly what my students have been up to. And again, if I just change these metrics, all the data will change accordingly. And of course, you can sort by any of these columns as well, depending on what's useful to you. Now, I should have mentioned on assignments, but it sort of applies to insights here. You can also download any bit of data off Seneca. You can download it as an Excel spreadsheet. So you just click this CSV download button at the top here. That will just create a brand new spreadsheet that you will be able to see whatever data is on your screen at that moment. It'll basically just pop into a spreadsheet so you can do what you'd like with it. So the final place to see data on Seneca is the Students tab. And this is your sort of highest level overview of what your students have or haven't been up to. So you can see here, it gives you different data like the total learning time, average score, number of sessions completed, and the number of correct answers. So this is sort of a good way to sort of see an overview of what your students have been up to across your class. And again, you can download this to CSV if you'd like to create a spreadsheet. So that is that from that and the data sharing perspective and how you access the courses. I'm not going to show you what student courses look like in this session because it's sort of beyond the scope of sort of the Teach platform and the Google Classroom and the Microsoft Teams. But what I will show you as the last thing is one other really nice feature that you can do within Microsoft Teams. Unfortunately, it's not available in Google Classroom, but I think it's really nice, is you can create these custom tabs, which basically allow you to set up a Seneca page within Microsoft Teams. So the way to do that is just literally click on this plus sign, and you then choose that you want to do a website. And the website address you'll need to do is just this HTTPS here, app.senecalearning.com. And it gives you a little reminder to make sure that the HTTPS bit is in there, but you can just copy and paste that from the front of any Seneca web page. You'll be able to get that. You can choose whether to post in the channel or not. And then when you click save, you'll see I've created this website, which I didn't rename, but you could have renamed if you wanted to. And it's created a site that just allows your students to access their accounts. And it was important to say, students won't be able to see your account, they'll just be able to see whichever account they're logged in with at that moment. So that's a really nice feature, I think, of Microsoft Teams. So that is basically everything I wanted to show you on the sort of teacher side of things. The other thing to say is we also now offer support for schools and working with parents more effectively. So parents can now see similar data to teachers for their students. So again, there's a really simple way to just for parents to invite their students to their accounts, so parents can sort of keep an eye on what's going on. So I'd recommend having a look at that as well. So that's sort of all I wanted to say. If there are any questions that people have on anything I've said or anything else that you'd like to know some more information about, now's the time to pop it in the chat, and I'll just come and go through some of the questions that are there already. So a question from Penny. Let me just stop sharing my screen. So question from Penny. Would we be able to have a copy of the PowerPoint after the session to share with our departments? Yeah, of course. What I'll do again, if I just share my screen again, I'll show you where you can find it because it's actually already on our website. So if you want to find it, if you go back into the sort of homepage for you as a teacher, these top tips sections, if you just click see all, there's lots of good resources in here that you can use. And the one you'll want is the presentations. So if you go in there, you'll be able to find the presentation that, so you'll be able to find this exact presentation. You obviously won't be able to find all the demos I've gone through, but you'll be able to find all of those with videos of me talking through each of them in the help pages, if that's useful. So again, if you need help, there is an option to sort of get help at the top here. Okay. So yeah, thanks N Coot for reminding me. Yes, of this video, if you want to share it with anyone, it's live streamed on our Seneca CPD channel on YouTube. So if you just go onto YouTube and type in Seneca CPD, you'll see this exact recording provided for you to share with colleagues if that's interesting and useful. Question from H is, if a student gets an answer wrong, is there support to help them get it correct next time? So within the student session, the way a sort of flow of a student session goes is a student will start learning a particular topic. First of all, we'll give some information on that topic, so some content for the students to learn, digest, revise, whatever it is. And then the students will be repeatedly quizzed on that content. So about 20% of what students sees in classroom in the session is content, stuff to learn, and the other 80% is questions. And that's how we are able to do the sort of adaptive stuff I talked about earlier. So adapting the session to the individual student. Now, if a student gets a question wrong, sort of the flow goes that the student is corrected in real time. And then the support comes either by basically showing them, basically the system will know that student is struggling with that concept, and it will add in more questions, more content to support that student to try and get them to remember the correct answer that they've been corrected. So it won't necessarily be the same question, it will be a similar question worded differently. So they're having to apply that knowledge from earlier on in the session. So question from N Coots, can you clarify how parents and carers can use Seneca's scores with their children? So yeah, of course, what a parent can do, if I just share my screen, give me 1 second, I'll show you what parent account looks like. So parents can go and sign up to a free parent account, and when they first log in, it will look something like this. So they first of all need to invite some kids to this class. So sorry, some kids to this account. So in the same way as you would do as a teacher, there are a few different options. The parent can either just copy a link, they can send the kid an email, or they can send them the link via WhatsApp. So they can send that. Once the student clicks on that link, the parent will then be able to see some basic stats broken down by each course. So you'll be able to see, for each student, you'll be able to see what they've done on each course, how many questions they've completed, how many questions they've got correct, how many sessions they've completed, which how many lessons they've done. So that will all be visible to parents. Okay. Right, any more questions? Do keep them coming in. Another question from H. Is there any features that can only be accessed on a computer? A lot of my pupils will be using mobile phone to complete work. Would they be at a disadvantage? So no, absolutely not. The experience for students on both mobile, tablet and computer is the same. It's just optimized. The session is optimized for each of those screen sizes. So obviously it will look a little bit different, but the content and the questions will be of the same quality and variety. Clarifying question from Ncoot. So yes, so the question is that do parents have to sign up for their own parent account? Is yes, they do. So parents can go in, just create an account for free, just using their email address, exactly the same as you would do if when you're setting up your teacher account. They just select parent instead of teacher. Any other questions that are coming through? Happy to answer them. Okay, it doesn't look like anyone is writing at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll just say, oh, is Gustavo coming in with the question? Okay, yeah, question from Gent Whistle, Genty Whistle, I imagine that is, sorry. Is it possible to change class names? So yes, it is. Very easy to change a class name. Again, let me just share my screen. I'll quickly show you how to do that. So you just need to go into the class that you want to change the name of. So let's go into this one. You just go into settings, and then you can just change the name here. Click save. And then that will update the class name. So if I go back to classes, you'll see it's changed to change name now. So simple as that. Yeah. If you do have other questions like that, what I'd say is all of that sort of like little stuff and how to change class names, how to add students, how to remove students, how to see data, all that stuff. They're really good help pages with videos to help you talk you through them. So what I'd say is, if you're stuck with that, go to get help at the top of your screen, and you'll be able to get support on how to on how to do those sort of things. It's a question from Gustavo. Gustavo teaches GCSE maths. Are the questions similar to exam questions on each topic? So within any course, not just the GCSE maths course, we have questions that are more like sort of textbook questions that you'd expect, and we have more sort of exam style questions as well. So basically the answer is that there's a variety. Some courses have specific sections which are all exam style questions. So those maths does have those. So for example, you'll talk about, a topic within maths, and then you'll have another section which will follow up with some exam style questions on that. So yes, that is something that's sort of included within the platform. Okay, question from N Coot. What other services does the premium account give? So as I said earlier, everything I've shown you today is available for free. What premium does is it gives students access to a whole host of extra, first of all, content. So more, to go back to Gustavo's point, like more exam style questions, ready-made flashcards, different learning modes to help students basically and get a greater variety of content and questions. And then they also have extra premium learning modes, which basically are different learning modes to support students when they are learning on Seneca. So the first one is smart learning mode, which is almost like a timetabling tool, basically. So as a student goes through, we obviously have lots and lots of data on what the student does and doesn't know, doesn't understand, when they completed work and things like that. So smart learning mode will basically say to the student, it's been a while since you visited this topic, this is what you need to go and do now, and encourage students to apply optimal spacing values to make sure that they are revisiting work at the right time, they are revisiting the right work for them. And then there's wrong answer mode as well, which again is a sort of added learning tool, which basically helps students to focus on the content that they struggle with most. So it will bring together all of the wrong answers students have given on a course, and it will sort of talk students, or it will get students to answer those again to make sure that they are picking up the content that they struggle with most, and having an opportunity to correct those as well. But from a teacher's point of view, everything we provide for teachers is free to use. So there's no change in what teachers see. It's all the benefits are for the students. Okay, is there anything else questions? Last chance. Otherwise, I think I'll bid you guys farewell. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining. It's been great to show you through this, and thanks for all the questions that came in. If you do have any other questions, what I do is suggest you get in touch with our support team. On our website, you'll see there's a link to a live chat, where my colleague Olivia will be able to give you some extra support with whatever you need. So I'd recommend going there. But otherwise, thank you very much. Best of luck with the year ahead. I hope it all goes well, and I hope you enjoy using Seneca throughout it as well.